Hello, this is Lynn talking with Peter Wakefield.
Hello.
And we are today analysing the chart of David Beckham, footballer, Premier League footballer and
Athlete,
an England player. And obviously I don't know as much about this person as Peter does. Know of him by repute, everybody does, but he was born on the 2nd of May in 1975 in London at 6:17 a.m. So he has an ascendant of 26 degrees Taurus. His sun is also in Taurus in what would be his 12th house, which is interesting because 12th house, some people do not like to be cast into the limelight, really, do they, Peter?
No, they are naturally introverted.
Yes.
12 health sons, because they like to be a little covert.
Yes.
They like to have a lot of reservations, don't they? But the thing with the Beckham, David Beckham, is he has got Mercury, which incidentally, Lynn, is the planet of football.
Yes.
And
it's on his ascendant.
It's on his ascendant.
Plus he's got Jupiter in Aries, which is leadership, in the 11th house, which is also teamwork.
That's right. So Taurus on the ascendant with Sun in Taurus, so he's got a double emphasis on Taurus.
And we were talking before about how Taurian people, or a lot of Taurian people, manage to be very successful materially, particularly with wealth. Taurus can manifest or manipulate the material plane quite easily.
Taurus as an earth sign, encourages
the building,
predisposes the ability to accumulate energy, and money, of course, is concretized energy.
Yes, it concretizes into the best, and I mean there are other earth signs like Capricorn, for instance, that find it hard. But Taurus and Virgo of the earth signs, I think, find it the easiest to manifest on the material plane.
Can't they?
They can, and we must remember that material asset is not always money, but his wealth comes from his talent.
Taurus can channel energy very well. It has
Mercury on the ascendant, Peter, is a channel, isn't it, really? And it's a channel, and it's an inspiration it's a teacher, and it's particularly a teacher of, say, younger people or people who want to learn.
Yes, it gives voice to things as well, and David has given voice to a lot of younger people, encouraged them into the sport and into the game, and outside of the sport as well.
Well, he's got Venus in Gemini in his first house, so that again, I think that in a way that is about receiving information more than imparting information. Venus in Gemini.
It gives him the vision as well.
Yes.
Not only on the field of play,
because he isn't an audible person. He isn't a loquacious person by any means.
No, he's not academic or intellectual.
And he's not overly talkative either.
No, but he has this ability to galvanise those around him. So he, on the field of play, for example, he was a very good captain.
Yes.
A leader of the squad.
Well, again, that's the leadership of Aries. But this galvanising, this word you use, is interesting because he's got a T-square between Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn in the 2nd house. Yeah. Now, Saturn in the 2nd house, Cancer, would normally infer or imply some sort of scarcity or some sort of bleakness in terms of being able to earn money. But what we see here is, in this T-square, what it's brought forth is lifestyle choices dictated by team or squad or army. So let's think of team and squad. So merging with the squad and being able to, if you like, lead the squad.
Maneuver
Jupiter,
them.
galvanizes Pluto in the 5th, which is the sporty, expressive part. That 2nd house Saturn, that is money over a long period or success over a long period. So I think this is a good example of how one planet, which might be noted for bringing one particular influence, can change when amalgamated with other planets in an aspect.
Yes, yeah. And he's also got that Sun in Taurus opposing Uranus in Libra.
Well, it is a wide opposition.
It is a wide opposition, but I see that, you know, in his later career. I think Alex Ferguson, as his manager, got a little irritated with him when David got into the fashion industry, and his wife Victoria encouraged him to think about his career beyond football.
I think that we talked before about Taurus. Taurus is quite impressionable, and what was that word you used? It's the scintilla.
Yes,
scintilla.
it gets Taurus gets easily distracted
by scintillation,
and the scintilla of life, the glittering, sparkling luminosa of the fashion world, of jewellery, of the marketing. Of
he does a lot of advertising work, which has brought him revenue.
And of course, he went to Milan. Now, Milan is the capital of fashion, isn't it? So that in itself would be the ethos of scintilla.
It is, and yes, and if you look at this Mars in Pisces square Neptune in Sagittarius in his 7th house, that is the distraction. So obviously, excuse me, that's the distraction from a partner, away from the Mars in the 10th, which is extremely worldly or career.
Yeah.
So Mars and Neptune, it's very insidiously implosive. So it would kind of take his energy and implode his energy, and we see this maybe as the wifely influence into the scintilla of Sagittarian sensationalism.
Yeah, and of course that was a distraction for him for a while towards the end of his career, because I think Sir Alex Ferguson felt that he got distracted away from the football.
I think he was annoyed with the Victoria person, wasn't
so
he?
So that's the reason we mention that is it's an example of that opposition to Uranus.
But it's more pertinent to that Neptune. You see, he's got 3 retrograde planets here in equal house, 5th, 6th and 7th. He's got retrograde Pluto, retrograde Uranus and retrograde Neptune. And because these are the generational planets, or the extra Saturnine planets, it denotes this need to finish off patterns from past life, or to bring forward action or information which is both creative, and then it's a service, it's something that is vocational, and it's in terms of, but then what might lose it is is Neptune in the 7th.
That's right. Mars in Pisces, Lynn, is an injury to the foot. Like remember the metatarsal injury that he got?
No, of course not.
I think during his time as an England player, at a crucial time, he got this injury to the metatarsal ligament in his foot.
Vaguely.
And it set him back, and perhaps the England team back a bit. Well, that would be a simple symbol for Mars in Pisces.
Well, yes, because Mars in Pisces can be very sacrificial, so you sacrifice something when you have an injury. And you have to sacrifice the objective, of course, for the injury.
And it would be a devotional streak, that Mars in Pisces.
Oh, definitely.
In David as well.
Definitely,
devoted to his cause, devoted to his family.
Devoted, yes. And the sacrificial thing through the injury would allow somebody else to actually take over from him.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. It's giving way. You see, Mars in Pisces will give way, squaring Neptune in Sag. It will. It's
a weakness.
Lose.
It was a weakness. It was that Mars squaring Neptune would be emotional weaknesses as well. In comparison to his devotion.
I think I think David Beckham is one of those people who doesn't. He's very kind of under-assuming, and it might be mistaken for a lack of talent or a lack of something dynamic. But underneath, this is what I mean about Taurus, because Taurus rising people, it's slow to change, Taurus, and it's sometimes slow to learn.
It's lethargic as well.
Yes, and Taurus on the ascendant gets there eventually, but it's slow to push itself forward. However, that's counteracted by that Jupiter in Aries.
And with the Mercury on
Well, I think,
ascendant.
see, I know, but I think Mercury will go in tandem. I think it will go into the pace of whatever sign it's in. So I think Mercury in Taurus will be much slower, say, than Mercury in Gemini or Mercury in Sagittarius. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
The channel will be thorough, but fairly slow. However, we see that Beckham did reach a fair amount of celebrity or stardom at an early age, didn't he? Because wasn't he outstanding as a boy player?
He was, very much so. He was part of the youth
movement
surge through Manchester United in the early 90s.
And wouldn't that shows by his Mercury is that on his ascendant as a boy, Mercury's going to be outstanding in that way.
Yes, he was channeled.
What rules football, I wonder? I don't know.
Mercury.
Oh yes, but what sign, what vibration?
Well, it's seventh ray physical bodies get attracted to football. Third ray physical bodies get attracted to rugby.
Yeah.
That's the subtle difference, you know, heavy bodies and subtle bodies. But football is competition basically. It's sport. It's Scorpio, isn't it?
I don't know.
Scorpio and Aries, yes.
Yeah, it's almost warlike. See, in modern terms, I think football has replaced war, and we see this off the pitch, don't we? We see.
Well, it gives the opportunity for young people,
or even older people,
to express their physicality, to express.
There's a lot of negativity,
their energy.
I think, goes along with the entourage or the following of football, which is different than the game itself, isn't it?
Yes,
and this is almost like a thought form or a miasm that's totally has its own world.
Definitely. I think the world of football is very different to the game of football, obviously.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And it's become very, very commercial and very greedy.
It's got out of control, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's obviously a peripheral issue. Do you remember the OCD business, the obsessional compulsive disorder that the Beckham brought to the public attention?
No.
There was this issue about him having
who, David himself?
David Beckham having OCD, in having his clothes all in order.
Well, that's
his
probably
wardrobe.
some control.
But that would be Uranus.
Yeah.
In Libra. Perhaps conjunct the Pluto.
Do you know what I think? Yes, it would, and that would be demonstrated by the hold that his wife had on him, or still does have on him, and the hold that the kind of contrary hold that Ferguson guy had on him, the manager.
Yes,
because
Sir Alex.
Between them, they were stretching him and manipulating him.
He was caught between
two.
And he had to balance things.
Yes, and so the outlet for that is to take control of things that nobody else can interfere with, and I think that's the root of OCD.
Yeah, and there was a business...
And that's Pluto as well, because Pluto rules those kind of compulsions.
Yes.
And it's retrograde, so he's probably
subconscious.
He's probably had that before. I mean, we could see David Beckham as an outstanding kind of athlete in many lifetimes, I think.
But the way the David and Victoria named their children, you know, Romeo, Brooklyn, who was the other one? I can't remember the name of the other one.
I don't remember. So 7 or something.
But that would also indicate this Libran sort of stylistic appendage that comes with the energy from the stylista, you know, the...
Well, we've got
scintilla.
We've got Moon here, late degrees Capricorn, if not just entering Aquarius, and it's squaring Uranus, so there's a tremendous rejection phobia here, and this at the personal level, and a fear of being rejected by those who love him. Yes,
very sensitive to those.
If that Moon's and it's an anorectic degree in Capricorn, if it is 29 degrees Capricorn, it would bring in a very cold and calculated defence mechanism to what would be that absolute entering into something which was all encompassing, and then fearing that would be lost.
Yes.
which is what happens in rejection.
Yeah.
Phobias is that people won't enter things that they value or prize because they love them so much for fear of losing them. So it's like better not to have that in the first place than lose it. So there's, with Moon in Capricorn, there's always a very calculated edge or harder edge to Moon Capricorn.
And also
very disciplined.
Absolutely, and also a determination to succeed.
Yes.
And to build upon that success, which he has done through his commercial interests. Yeah. But let it be said also, Lynn, about his charitable work in Africa.
I think that's purely David Beckham.
Yes.
I think his will to his abilities elsewhere and his ability to make money is part and parcel of his ability to make money for everybody else, his people, if you like, or his PR people, or whatever corporate interests he has. Everybody else benefits, and I think that he's open to manipulation on that scale. But I think in has works, that is him.
And he has spread his humanity through that, which would be indicative of Jupiter
Taurus has a very generous disposition, normally.
Yeah.
Taurians are very generous. And we've got double Taurus here, because we've got Sun and we've got Rising. But Sun in the 12th is always very philanthropic. It's always given to do it, to tithing or to giving or to being a benefactor in a silent way without wanting the credit or the glory.
I think one of the pinions in his chart has been his mother, with this Saturn in Cancer. Cancer is the sign of the mother. The mother, when Saturn is in Cancer, the mother can be a steadying rock or a pinion keeping things together.
But she's part of that T-square. Well, she's part of that T-square with Pluto, Jupiter. So Saturn on its own squaring Pluto, particularly when it's retrograde, is it's fairly difficult, I think.
What this Saturn suggests to me,
it's galvanising again, isn't it?
Yeah, this Saturn in Cancer is like the string of a kite. If you look at the rest of the chart, it's...
What did you say before? Old Mother Hubbard or something?
Yeah, a simple... Well, there are many permutations and symbols for...
But it's like bleakness, Cancer being food and plenty...
It's like a famine.
Harvest. Yeah, it's like a famine. And that's what I was saying, if it wasn't part of a T-square, which suggests being able to find glory through the team or the squad, then it would struggle on its own.
Yes, and the chart itself is very much like a kite, which is controlled by this Saturn in Cancer. So I think there's a deep controlling influence from his mother's side.
I see the mother, you see, is connected with the moon. Now, if you look at
that as well.
Yeah, the moon in Capricorn, 9th house, but it's squaring Uranus. So I think I don't know whether the rejection thing has been given along the mother line, or something is picked up from the mother, but it's that rejection of fear of being rejected by women or by people who nurture.
Yeah. I think
strong.
I think his dad, Ted, was almost a part of the squad. I think he became one of the boys in the entourage. Were always backing David, or always going to see his son play and that type of thing. So his mother wore the trousers here.
Did she?
I think so.
Well, maybe that's why I mean, this moon Uranus is difficult. This moon square Uranus is definitely giving a strain with what would be feminine attentions or feminine energy. But Uranus also transforms, so it's going to be transformative in some way. The way and it's in 6th house, so his devotion or his duty, because there's always a unique strain with Uranus.
Yes.
If he hadn't been a footballer, it begs the question of what would he have done? How would he have kept a job? Maybe he wouldn't have kept a job, or maybe he would have been gone from career to career. Because, I mean, one can say you're very privileged if you get to do what you really want to do in a creative sense in this life. And moreover, if you get to be very celebrated or famous in what you want to do, that's.
I think from a very early age he had his sights set on football, becoming an athlete.
Yes. Would he have become any other kind of athlete besides
I don't think
footballer?
so. No, because he was so
talented.
Focused. Yeah, and he was naturally gifted.
He is naturally gifted.
He was so channeled into following.
This is Mercury on the ascendant. The channel and the youth and the.
It just goes to show
football.
that when you're young enough, if you know what you want to do, you can channel your energies and focus them in a certain direction, and it will follow through.
And if you've got support behind you, you actually can't fail. By support, I mean somebody who says, just keep at it, you'll be okay. Like his father, presumably.
Yeah.
So his father pushed him. I mean, Taurus often needs that nurture, that motivation.
Which is why I mentioned this Saturn in Cancer.
That's right.
The nurturing influence of parents, which would be Saturn in Cancer, wouldn't it?
Saturn in Cancer, because don't forget, it's at its detriment because it rules Capricorn. So Saturn in Cancer, in an exoteric sense, is difficult. That's why I keep saying, were it not in this T-square,
yes,
he would struggle. So he's not a person who can work alone. Even though he's a leader, he has to have something to lead. Yes, the Jupiter in Aries is it can go off alone and do stuff and lead himself. But as part of a T-square with Saturn, I think he has to merge. He has to kind of give way to a group, even though he might be outstanding in that group and have leadership thrust upon him. But Saturn in Cancer on its own often struggles to feel loved,
He often feels he wants to withdraw as well because of that.
Yeah.
As for the future, I think him going even more international than he's become.
Didn't he
Cosmopolitan.
doesn't he take football around the world and form teams around the world or something?
Yeah, and I think he's set up certain bodies now, charitable bodies, where he gets involved with underprivileged children, charitable work, that type of thing, which is, he's using his brand, as it were, to spread not only football but
well, that's the transformational service of Uranus in the 6th house. Is that the 6th house can be a vocation or a calling that is unpaid. It can be just work for the sake of work or the sake of a duty or a calling, and that Uranus retrograde talks about atavism from past life, which says this time I'm gonna spread the word, and I'm going to do good here. I'm going to make breakthroughs with whatever is at my disposal. And again, it's in the last degrees of Libra, so it's but the square to that moon, which is also last degrees Capricorn, is really interesting. Actually, it talks about overcoming hard times.
Yes, it does, and he's done very well in consolidating what he has done, and he's brought young people together. I see him going more and more into underprivileged areas, as he has done, especially in Africa.
I think he sees his sport as a unifying rhythm.
Sport has become that,
because that's why the distinction between what happens off the pitch and with fans is different than the actual spirit of the game.
Yes,
and I think
he's built an important bridge, I think, between the people who watch the game and the people who play the game.
Well, that's that's a good way of putting it. The people who watch the game often need more guidance than the people who participate in the game.
Yeah, especially the kids who can't go to football games. Think of all the African children who have no football boots,
and they have no television or whatever.
So,
okay, so
David's done well there.
Yes, and we're proud to have David as a British export, as it were.
Absolutely.
And so join us next time for our next profile of well-known people. We aim to bring people who've made an impact. We aim to analyse the charts of people who've had an influence or made a difference in their own remit or their own world of recognition. Yes, not just people who are famous for the sake of being famous. I mean, you'll never see us analysing the Kardashians, for instance. So it's always got to be people who have done something, whether we agree with it or not, but they've made a difference and they've made an impact and they're thought-provoking. So please join us next time. In the meantime, for more of our stuff, go to perceptivity.co.uk.
Or Peter at LinkedIn. Thank you, Peter Wakefield.